All right, we're live. Welcome back, everybody, to Finding Truth podcast here on Unscripted Truth TV, episode 35. Another week, another Sunday coming at you. Well, for some people, maybe probably Monday. We up late, a little bit late, but here with Austin once again, and tonight is going to be a little bit of a, hopefully, team building exercise. But hopefully we have our first guest and recurring guest. Well, hopefully recurring guest, King Richard, on a little bit later tonight, and get his take on whatever, really. But we'll try to gear it towards what we've been kind of talking about. It's almost becoming a series, and I almost think I want to do some, take practice at some video editing to make it a little bit of like a series as well, cutting up some of our discussions on relationships and making them into like a long form video. But that's neither here nor there for this episode. But we will be adding to it. A couple things we want to talk about before we get into the next step in the series, or the next episode in the series of relationship talks. We had a interesting, what would you call it, like a reprisal, not a reprisal, but interesting little tidbit that was potentially kind of missed from a week ago. Ties into NASCAR, ties into wrestling, both things that we've been covering pretty heavily. Go check out our more recent episodes. Just another blatant ritual that Austin caught, so that we'll bring that to your attention, and who knows, we'll look at it and maybe there's something more there. Other than that, I think it's going to be pretty slim on the recent headlines. We might take a quick look at the recent headlines. I know that there's some like Joe Biden cancer stuff going around, so that's what they just did to the Pope. So that might require a little bit more time and research, but to have a good idea of what they're doing. But other than that, we'll get into, like I said, relationships, and I think we're going to take a little. I know we're going to take a little bit of a different approach to it this time around. But sorry for the long intro. Send it down to Austin. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing as good as I can be, I would say. It's been another somewhat, I guess, exhausting kind of week, mentally, emotionally, physically, and still just clawing back, after that, little back injury, still, getting back into it and just keeping up with life, just a lot going on, and it's a lot of things to kind of juggle and stuff. I mean, it's been even like weather-wise, sun's out right now, but even the week was pretty cold and rainy and gray, pretty depressing for this time of year. It's been kind of somewhat of a cold May. Hasn't really been too much much of what you expect for basically almost June, basically summer already. But it's just I've just been, like I said, working on those classes and stuff, and Thursday and Friday were pretty exhausting. I had to do, all day in the classroom, and it just took a lot out of me. And, just going to take a lot out of me more this week, because I got 4 days all in the classroom and stuff. And, and then I got to take my exam, I guess, like a month from now or whatever. So, just like a lot of, just a lot of stuff, memorizing a lot of skills and 14 skills and supplies, and memorizing like 1,500 pages of material and 3 books, and just a lot to deal with and go through. I know I've got someone too I know personally. They kind of are going through something right now and had something happen to them too, so it's kind of got me down in a way too. It's kind of just been one of those weeks where it's kind of like just kind of started to kind of feel it Thursday, like I said, with that all day class. I think that was my first all day class, Thursday and Friday, and then this week and stuff. But just it was kind of one of those feelings like, man, just like did I wonder if I, finally made a mistake? Did I make a mistake going down this road? Did I do the right thing? Am I on the right path? Just like, it's kind of one of those feelings. And yeah, like I said, just, yeah, just kind of overwhelmed, just kind of mentally, emotionally, physically, just tired, exhausted, just, a lot to keep up with and deal with. And yeah, it's been doing the best I can. Just kind of going to see how things play out, what happens and how things go and how things end up here in the month and months ahead and how, summer plays out. I can't imagine how summer is going to go and where we're going to be by the end of it. Yeah, it's a lot going on and just a lot of things changing happening right now and just a lot of uncertainty and not sure what's kind of coming next. But yeah, it's just been one of those weeks and I got one of those weeks coming up again. So just kind of got to get ready for that and get through it and we'll be from there. And yeah, and it's exciting to have, King Richard back. We haven't had him in 20 episodes, episode 15. And man, that was a different time ago, 20 episodes ago. That was a different life. That was a different world already. Crazy how fast the 20 weeks go. I mean, just like that, it just bam, and 20 weeks have gone by. And yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, he's been our only guest. And yeah, it's great to always have someone on. And I know he's been the only person. So awesome to have him on for a second time tonight. And yeah, it's exciting. Already at 35 episodes in, it's wild. We're halfway to 70. We're getting pretty old. Old age is setting in, I guess you could say. We're not the little young youth channel anymore. I've been going for about 9 months, 8 months. So it's a long time already. We've been in business a while now, so that's good. That's good that we've put out this much content. Yeah, I'm exciting when you have. I mean, it's crazy when I look at all my like sheets and notes of everything and all the stuff. I mean, how packed, how stacked that stuff is. I mean, when you track it, you record your progress and all this stuff. It's amazing watching the days, weeks go by, and all the stuff we've talked about and mentioned on the channel. And it's just yeah, it's just I hope that anyone else that, like I said, wants to come on or has anything to add, hopefully they get a hold of us and stuff and let us know because yeah, we've always liked to have new people and new ideas.
Yeah, definitely expand our skill set, please. I mean,
Yeah,
we definitely look to do it ourselves, but inspiration is you know hard to come by. With limited time, some weeks and things of that nature. Not trying to make excuses, but sometimes inspiration is all it really takes for one of us to really light a fire. It's just you need it sometimes, and it's been a sort of dry on our channel in the inspiration department. Not to say that we don't have any or we don't have any topics we'd like to talk about. It's just just how it's been uh, how it's worked out these last few weeks, and then with I say a few weeks, but pretty much since I moved, I've been a lot busier, and then you've had that life change as well, where you're a lot busier. So it's taken away, I think, a little bit from our gusto in the creative department. Not to say that we haven't put out banger episodes and everything. It's just I don't know, it's kind of following a different trajectory, but I would like, to continue to mix it in with, lots of new things. And obviously that helps to have, people with completely different maybe not completely different, but different, mindset, life experiences and things to talk about. So yeah, of course, always, we have our email scrolling across the screen. Obviously, just leave us a comment or whatever. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be super formal. Get a hold of us, and we'd love to have people on. I did reach out. This was a while back, obviously, but I reached out to several members of the community, and I got positive feedback. But then when it came down to it, no one really followed through with it. But who knows? I just might need to be a little bit more persistent on some of those things. Everybody's busy. I'm not saying this in a bad way or anything like that. Or everybody's busy. I totally get that. But might just need to be a little bit more persistent to get a little bit more of a chance to have a variety of guests on. But you never know who will pop up and want to join. Maybe it'll be someone we don't even know, and that'll, spark something else. So we'll see.
Absolutely, yeah. You never know who's gonna pop in, or yeah. It's been like I said, we've been around. A lot of people think it's kind of a new upcoming channel. I mean, we're getting close to a year old in September. So yeah, we've been around. Like I said, last few weeks. I started classes on the first. It ends on the 22nd. So I've just had this, quick, you know, kind of 3 week cluster where it's just a lot of information. I've just been having to, deal with a lot and work with a lot of stuff in a short amount of time, and especially something that's not your expertise, or it's kind of off to the side of things that you kind of gone through and know after 30 years, and you got to rush all this new stuff in your head in 3 weeks, and memorize all this stuff in such a short amount of time. I mean, it's a lot for anybody. And yeah, like you said, you've been busy and you've moved, and you've had a life change, and I've had mine, and I've been just moved recently too, after my birthday there, the day after. And like I said, started these classes, been doing all that and wrapping that up Thursday and stuff. So yeah, I mean, I'll have more time. Obviously I'll have to keep studying and practicing stuff, and one of as much time as I'd like to have, but I should have a little bit more time to have things to kind of bring to the table and add and look at things, and just kind of keep applying more stuff to the channel in different ways. And yeah, if other people they got things to add, like I said, they want to come on, or I know a lot of people they've been some people are leaving comments, and they're kind of getting involved and stuff, and they're kind of helping out and stuff. So that's great. I like all the new people and people that kind of make their presence known and let us know they appreciate us and what we do. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. So without too much wrapping, why don't we take a look at our first little mention here. This is something I'm going to kind of let you take it away. I'll try to keep up with you on presentation side, but I know you caught this and you hit me up about this. It's amazing. It ties right in with the other half basically of what we found out about this. But why don't you take it away?
Yeah, I actually caught this. We did our stream last week. Our last two were on relationships 33 and 34. Forgot to actually this just came up on Monday. I found out about this. So I didn't know about this Sunday when we did our thing, but um yeah, this Zach covered this too in his stream
Nice.
as well. That's where I first kind of caught this, and then I looked into it too, and yeah, because I noticed a lot of the numbers lined up. Obviously, the race was a massive 201 ritual that did end up going through. Obviously the um, Kyle Larson, Mr. 201, and starting on the pole, dominating the race, winning all stages. Starting on the pole, winning all the stages, leading the most laps, total domination. Couldn't be any more 201. And then you have, I know Chase Elliott led the second most laps, the other 201. The other teammate there, and that's kind of just maximizing their 201 potential. And then you had, obviously the Advent healthcare, whatever. You know, um, that obviously equaling 201. And I noticed that the Sabu wrestler that died, I remember him very well. And yeah, I never knew his name equaled his real name, and it equaled 201. Go figured, and almost, had the two Cypher match with the Advent healthcare. Um, and yeah, and with Kyle Larson, and then this, now the Sabu thing, and this was of course all on Mother's Day, 5/11. Um, so it's just this massive 201 ritual there on Mother's Day, and it's just we've been talking about how these things are connected on a lot of levels. Sports, um, just levels of sports, how sports are connected. From NASCAR, wrestling, football, how it's all the same thing. We've been showing that quite a bit throughout our time on the channel, and we did a great job, I felt, of kind of showing last week too, talking about, the 201s and stuff. And then, not knowing the Sabu thing happened. And then, of course, this gets, added to the mix. And this is a perfect example of, not only how things are all scripted and, rigged and, faked together, but also how you have all these things, kind of come together to form this ritual and what it's really all about. I mean, um, obviously, his name's Sabu, and what his real name is, the 201 and stuff, and how they cover that up. And, uh, and where he's from there, Staten Island, New York, or Staten Island, wherever that is, that obviously equals 201 as well. So, yeah, there's a lot of 201s in this to, um, have a party with. I mean, they really, yeah, this is, I mean, we thought the race was, maximum 201s, but then, you realize how much bigger things are. I mean, when you find out this other information, how it all applies. And this is the prime example of, anybody that doesn't understand how, not only are things rigged and scripted, but also how they're all connected and who really runs the show and how they're running the show and why these things are happening. And for people, that don't, know gematria, or, they just think, oh, you could just make anything equal anything. These people are really missing out, and they really don't understand the basics and what we're talking about. And they just, whatever reason, they can't grasp this or don't want to, look at it or think about it. Because obviously, we just, looking at the race, I mean, if you take away the gematria, it's just, you look at the wrestler and stuff, you just go, oh, well, this was just rigged for Kyle Larson. This was, just another a rigged death. But, when you apply the gematria and you look at what this really is, and of course, it's all happening on Mother's Day. And, you just go, oh, well, this all happened on Mother's Day. But then you look at all the 201s, you look at the gematria, you put it all together, and then you really see what it really truly is and who's truly behind it, and how they're doing it and why they're doing it and what it really means. I mean, it's just, yeah, I mean, for anyone, out there just, doesn't know gematria, doesn't understand gematria, doesn't want to, look at this knowledge and, oh, you can make anything equal anything, it's just like, these people are just missing out. And, this is just one of the examples that's, it needs to go down in just the history of 201s and the history of what we talk about, and put it towards the top, because this is, another prime example. Why 201? What's with 201? It's, and then here you go. I mean, just, it's right in your face. It's under right. And, I never knew, like I said, his name was, what his name even was, until, he dies. And look at how they present it. I mean, that's just how they do it. I mean, it was just, masterfully done, I must say.
And like they usually do, they have a lot of conflicting information here. So, like I looked up initially, they list his birthplace in Staten Island, yet all the other one or multiple other ones are saying he's from Detroit, birthplace Detroit, and then also uh,
Yeah, I know he's good friends with Rob
yeah,
Van Dam. Him and Rob Van Dam are really close, and Rob Van Dam's from Battle Creek, Michigan. So yeah, he
interesting.
might be from Michigan too. It's hard to say.
Well, Detroit, Michigan's got that 83. Like,
Yep.
so, see the postcard. What a Sabu. Wait, murder, kill. What is the? Yeah, I personally had never heard of this guy. Apparently, his nickname was the Human Highlight Reel. I feel like other people have had that.
Yeah, he used to be like one of the most extreme people, because he used to super glue all his wounds. He all his wounds and all his scars, where he just used super glue and just glue himself up. He was like one of the most hardcore people. Like I said, I know him, like, in Rob Van Dam. are, you know, kind of close. Those two were kind of linked, and other people like that. So yeah, he's been around for a while. I remember him real well.
Lots of interesting scars. Got a big old scar right there. Now I wonder what the Arab motif. You know, it is interesting too. Like Trump just visited like the Saudi princes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, this guy's born in Detroit. I don't know what his background is. He looks pretty white to me. His name's pretty white to me, but he has definitely a culturally appropriated motif to his character. Obviously, being like an Arab in his character. Sabu the Elephant Boy. It's not a great Sabu. That sounds like something that they would call out more than just Sabu.
46, he got sacrificed. 127.
Absolutely. 46 for sacrifice makes sense. Terry. Terry got 86th. Terry Brock. But yeah, seems to me like it was kind of like an in between post WrestleMania, pre NASCAR All Star race kind of a ritual.
Yeah, they got to just get it in Mother's Day. Just really had to rub it in.
That's a good point.
He was born 12/12. It's interesting too.
Yeah, I saw that. Let's see. So 150 days. Wait, is the 213 not Detroit? Oh, it's the 313. Okay. Thought I had something. Interesting. 150. I know that plays somewhere. I can't remember exactly what 150 would represent, but who knows? Maybe it'll rear its head. Let's see, to his next birthday. The great Sabu equals 71. 71 days from his birthday, his next birthday. Or sorry, 7 months in one day.
Great Sabu.
Yeah, I mean, he had everyone knows his signature moves: the Arabian facebuster and the camel
Yeah.
clutch.
Yep.
Well, RIP to the Arabian and imitator.
He was around for 40 years too.
Yeah, seeing that he had a long career.
Long, extreme career for 40 years of putting his body through all that. A big time sacrifice.
These wrestlers, their Wikipedias are some of the longest I've ever seen. Like, because they go through so many like leagues and things like that you don't realize how many leagues there are of things of wrestling. And they list
I think
every
he made
single
his
one.
said he made his was that WCW debut September 11th, 1995.
Did it? Was that? Did it really?
Seen it when you were scrolling down. Something September 11th, 1995. He debuted in something. It was further down.
Uh,
World
right here.
Championship September 11th, 1995. We had Oklahoma City, April 19th, 1995.
Wait. Was what WCW, was that before WWF?
That was when WWF was around. They closed down in like 2000, like one there. That was when like all they had the invasion
Yes.
going on and stuff. And WWF like bought up everything, all the brands. WCW, ECW, WWF. TNA started in like 2002. So there's all these. He was in TNA as well. I mean, he was in like all of them.
He had a long career in Japan, and what's interestingly enough, his moniker, the Great Cebu, equals 127, like like December 7th, like Pearl Harbor. But
Yep.
that's probably a stretch, but still. Well, good catch on this guy. I would definitely would add my finger to the pulse of this. But yeah, just another another one in the books for their evil game, their plan. I
Yep.
mean, who knows if he's really dead or not? Of course, you can say that every single time, but obviously the obvious ties to the Larson domination, the 201s, the yeah. And where's he from? He's from California. Elk Grove. He's a little Asian cowboy.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's culturally appropriating too. It's just no one's going to call him out on it.
Yeah.
But interesting. Sabu.
The All Star race concluded, didn't it?
Oh, probably. Oh,
Oh,
Bell took it at
Bell
the
won.
end. Wow. Logano. How you going to drop that? You had it. You
Yeah, when
had
I
it.
first looked, I saw Bell was leading. So yeah, there really ain't much lead changes there.
Yeah, I know. It
Bell,
was,
Logano.
but, just another 201 as well. If, haven't been following us, guys. seems like NASCAR is heavily inundated with, the calling cards, all across the United States of, where they set up these tracks. And, if anyone realizes you know a lot more of the history of these things. You tell me something new every single time about these tracks and everything, and like how long they were there and what they were before and whether or not they were, always there. And you hear some of these things, like some of these tracks have been around for a long time, and like then you hear about other ones where it's like, oh, it was here, but they moved here. It's like you wonder why they moved to North Wilkesboro. You know what I mean?
Yep.
20184. The good old Jesuit order. They love themselves some NASCAR, boy.
Oh yeah.
So Bell takes the first win since his three-peat.
Yep. Doesn't count, but he gets paid.
$1 million counts probably for
Yep.
goes. I don't remember if we mentioned him last week. I know we touched on some more kind of outside chances. See, that's another weird thing too. It's just like it's hard to follow. It's like I wouldn't put money on just like an ancillary weird like media post things that they like to do that might signify certain things uh, at the sporting event coming up next. But this seems to happen a lot. Like a lot of the times when we get to Sunday here and I see the winner, I'm like, damn, because it's like I saw some like weird post that they made about this, and I just randomly saw a post about a Dallas Cowboy. I guess there was like they were wondering if who was it? It was like he's a famous Dallas Cowboy. I can't remember who it was. I know Emmett Smith. So here's the point: is Emmett Smith owned or used to co-own a team or something like that, a NASCAR team, and also you have Joe Gibbs who used coach in the NFL, and
Yep.
that's who Bell is under, and man, who was it? What's that dude's name? Holy shit! I think he wore 88 just like Owens did. Des Bryant. There we go.
Des Bryant. Yeah, I was gonna say.
So he just like there was a random it seemed like an AI written thing. Here we go. Former Dallas Cowboy star receiver sparks NASCAR buzz with cryptic post and drivers respond. And just, it mentions Michael Jordan with 23XI, Frankie Muniz in the Truck Series. And then the last one it mentions is Joe Gibbs. And, his team won this. So this might be just one of those little soft, you almost got to wonder if there's, like a cipher for people, who are taking advantage of the games, to have these like, it's similar to like potentially how they would rig, because they make like movies about this kind of stuff, how it's like put out there, the information's put out there, and obviously you have people like Zach who can pick up on the numbers aspect, not just the numbers aspect, but mainly the numbers aspect of these things and nail it. And that they're doing that, but then also there's the whole idea of like they're writing these weird articles and like making a point of them right before teams play or whatever. And, like I was going to say, like rigging the market, there's like tells. That's what they'd be, right? They put out tells to where, like, if you have the cipher, basically, that, the Yahoo article that nobody could possibly care about, this shitty little article, yet they put it out there. And, they just happened to mention Joe Gibbs last about this whole Des Bryant thing. And, he ends up, not to say that this win counts towards anything, but, if you're betting on the game or betting on the race, it counts.
Yep. Yeah, and they have a lot of those mergers like you were talking about. There used to be Randy Moss Motorsports. He had a truck team too, or he owned a
Another Cowboy.
yeah, big boss Randy Moss. Surprised Michael Vick didn't buy a team in NASCAR too.
He's barred. He crossed the line with the dog fighting. Just trying to see. Let's see. Okay, let's double check here. See if we missed. Obviously, we did miss something, but 212 days from his next birthday. $153 days from his last. Huh.
Bail is tolling in Wilkes-Barre.
Full name. What's his slave name?
86, 88.
What was his last win? Sometimes I hate when the page is too big. But I understand you guys need to see it.
Back in March.
Martinsville? No, that was the Hamlin start. Oh yeah, the Shrine. Oh yeah, the Shriners, the
3-9.
with the Hiram Biff ritual. Hilarious. 3-9, yeah. $70 days ago on the nose. 10 weeks exactly. You wonder if this isn't so much of, I mean, I'm sure there are tells and everything like that, like I was just talking about, but I almost wonder if these are setups, more of a setup for something moving, coming up. Just like, any all-star game in any sport. It obviously doesn't matter it used to matter. It used to actually be the home field advantage for the Super Bowl or whatever, or for the finals or whatever. But you wonder if it's just, this, you're not going to get maybe too much to, not to say you wouldn't get it, but it's maybe not as obvious who would win an all-star race, but it might give you the information towards something else, like the finish at the end of the season or something like that. Or maybe even the next race, which I don't know what the next race is. Let's see.
The 600, I believe, at Charlotte.
Oh yeah, they're staying in state. The Coke 600.
Longest race all year.
Coca-Cola Company. Might be the Coca-Cola Company, but the Coca-Cola Company equals 88.
And 74. 26, like Cobain, God.
Not just Coke.
74, 20.
Is Bell not in the 20 car? Bell is in the
Bell's in the
20
20.
car. So this is at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Let's see if we can identify the Charlotte North equals 201, of course. I'm like typing in to find a 201 in it. Fine. It pops up. Hilarious. It's got the 106, interestingly. So there's Charlotte Motor Speedway. 115. There's the 313. Maybe a Detroit guy winning. I don't think I've noticed anyone from Detroit, though. That is the Motor City. Let me just make sure I was, yes. Okay. Let's look this place up.
Yeah, I know Johnny Benson used to be from Grand Rapids. I know Brad Keselowski's from Michigan.
Oh, it's in Concord, North Carolina. That's another weird thing, too. Like, they have the names of the more popular city nearby, but I guess that they do that a lot, though, I guess. Trying to think of like there's NBA teams that have like a city's name, but they play outside of the city. Or anyway, what am I doing? Concord North. Wow, there's that 113 like Michael Jordan.
220, Kurt Cobain's birthday's in there.
I'm still thinking that Michael Jordan narrative could play out and have a. So look out for the Michael Jordan sphere. Of course, you got his three racers, and then you also have Denny Hamlin, who's co-owners of the team with them. So what about Concord NC?
44, 46.
Five.
Capacity 95,000.
Yeah.
95 DC's 95 Oklahoma City.
Okay, let's quickly check NASCAR stats. And then I think we're going to move on to our primary topic. Yeah, it's already 7:40. I might pop just quickly into the news headlines because I do want to quickly just look at the whole Joe Biden thing just so we have a preliminary thought about it. Okay, Reddick with the best averages. Okay. It's just going to show. Okay. Bell's one here. Hamlin's won. Blaney's won. Yeah, you ever get off the schneid, maybe? Reddick is in Jordan's team, correct?
Yep.
So there we go. I mean, that's still a potential narrative there.
Yeah, Harvick, he don't race no more. Truex doesn't race no more.
I mean, Hamlin, the next best racer, basically has a win there, multiple top fives and tens, and he's another Michael Jordan centric figure. Or maybe you get the Gibbs boy
Yeah.
picking up a win. Let's take a look at old Tyson Gibbs. Or Tyler, I guessed. Tyler Randall Gibbs.
Tie your Gibbs together.
Yeah. I believe that was how it's spelled. Super stands out. Tyler Gibbs. Fun numbers. Let's see. Gibbs. I remember that being 33. Another 71 too. Well, I still think that there's still a potential major thing they can do here with Jordan. I know he's been in the news with NASCAR. Actually, let me see really quick if Jordan lawsuit. Sort of recent. Guess they can take up to a month to make a ruling. Well, there could be an interesting, switch. Like I mentioned last week, or maybe not last week, but I think 2 weeks ago when we talked about the Jordan. We might have mentioned it last week also, because anyway, when I noticed it, the whole Jordan lawsuit thing has to do with, you kind of filled me in on things I wasn't understanding, but chartered and non-chartered teams, or charter teams. Charter teams are the ones that are in automatically, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it used to be the top 35 and like owner points were made the race, and the rest of the other 8 to fill the 43 car field had to qualify their way in. I don't know what it is now, because I know they don't have the 43 car field anymore. Now it's like usually it's like 35, 40 cars. So
It's still
not
something
sure.
similar though, I think, because
Might be the
I
top
think
30 or something. Yeah.
because what Jordan is basically vying for is for it's in long story short, it's basically he already signed a contract to basically that he's allowed, access, if you will, to NASCAR, but he has to still qualify. And he's trying to say, like, in a long, roundabout way, he's probably, one of the more famous faces in the entire sport. So he's trying to kind of flex his, I can bring more to the sport. Like I can expand it, but it already has like a setup, old boys kind of setup where the other owners already have they're kind of already locked in. I doubt you're going to get a bunch of owners saying, "Oh yeah, no, we should open it up to have a bunch, have anybody who comes in here apply to be basically apply." It's almost like DEI, right? It is kind of a form of DEI that he's kind of going for. I'm not saying his team isn't good. I just don't think that his team is. He's trying to get like basically the perks of these like long standing teams. And I'm not saying being built into a system is right when it's supposed to be a fair and balanced sport. I think there's a lot that could be reworked with these sports that these things were built that who I doubt that the early drivers and racers were thinking that it would become this conglomerate thing that is owned, it's very oligarchical structurally to where you have, I don't know if they were going for that, but it's just like, if you have like a cigar club, it's like you're going to prioritize the boys in the cigar club, you know what I mean? So that's just kind of the way it is. That's just how it is. You have these teams and yeah, you might sit here and say, oh no, it's based on points, it's based on this, it's based on that. It's just like this shit's rigged. These owners and everything like that, they're at the top making, more than likely making the decisions for, how the season's even going to unfold. And yeah, they take their lumps but that's all part of it. At the end of the day, you still have they still have chartered teams that basically when you get a gig with one of these teams, you become a NASCAR driver. Whereas if you get a gig with Michael Jordan's team, you might not make the field for whoever knows how long. And if you don't, then you get dropped and you never even saw NASCAR money. So that's kind of the idea I get with this is that he's trying to vie for all his racers to be basically for his team to be pre-qualified without having to garner the same results as all the other teams based off of his stature. But he apparently already signed stuff. So interestingly enough, they were saying it's like illegal to sue NASCAR if you're already in league with NASCAR. If you've already signed a contract, which makes some sort of sense, but that's almost like that's kind of a giveaway. That's kind of a so it's just like anything goes if you sign a contract. It's like that's not really how life works. It's like to an extent, yes, but to say that you can't like sue someone just because it's just a weird clause to be putting in there. It's just like don't need to be sued for any reason. That should be what the company's not. Of course, we know that that's not how it works. That's why there's NDAs and all these other things. But it really should be just the companies shouldn't need to be sued, not have all their underlings unable to sue them. Sorry, I was spitting that one out there. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just how they bring all this together. Like the DEI that used to be Dale Earnhardt Incorporated. DEI, Dale Earnhardt Incorporated. That's what I think of when I hear DEI. That's what I think of.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Because Dale Earnhardt, he raced for Richard Childress Racing, and then Dale Earnhardt Jr. raced for DEI. So you had Richard Childress, then you had Dale Earnhardt Incorporated.
And it's out of North Carolina?
That's where they're from, Earnhardt, yep.
Yo, can we just talk without the universe literally
4.4 stars, like they killed Dale Earnhardt.
Not to mention he's right now in legal battles with Lamar Jackson of the Ravens.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. You see the what they're doing here with these multi-sport, just like when soccer rolls around, like FIBA, whether it be international soccer or, you get like people would think that you'll have like famous like Luka Doncic will weigh in and be like, yeah, let's go, Arizona. It's just random teams. They're just like, yeah, you'll show up to an Arizona. They love doing that, just putting like intersport mixes in because these people are just puppets. They have to go do these things. It's like some people might look at it and be like, yeah, you have to go, watch a sporting game. It's like, yeah, I guess to that extent, it's obviously not the worst gig to be Luka Doncic. I'm not saying that, but the point is it's just like the measure of control. He's not always going to be all-star Luka Doncic. Eventually he's going to want to be regular person Luka Doncic, and that he's already given that up. He signed that away a long time ago. So all these stars have, so they might want to, look at Kyrie Irving, the guy they make, he's ours. He's part of the movement. It's like, bitch, Uncle Drew, the one who literally was fake, like his whole like persona, he showed you, and like he wears a mask and fools people. Yeah, that's the guy we should believe. That's the guy they give us as the like truth-seeking NBA guy, the guy who's like a conspiracy theorist and who is fighting the NBA contracts and the league. No, he's not. He's not done nothing but benefit from it. And yeah, these people are obviously paid actors, but yeah, like my original point, there's a lot of like intersport play. Like I brought up that article just a little bit ago with the Des Bryant thing in NASCAR, and obviously you have Michael Jordan, and you just wonder, if NASCAR is the next up. You got Bubba Wallace, you got women driving more often now. Obviously, you had Danica Patrick, who was dog shit, yet they made, any race that Danica Patrick raced in, was it ever about anybody else? Was it
Right.
ever about anybody else? No. Even, you got Leggy literally crashing into the only black guy in the field. And every article is just about, wow, she did great. It's like, holy shit.
She made Shauna Robinson proud. Shauna Robinson smiling down on her.
Mm-hmm. She rolled over in her car.
Yeah.
More. I feel like Mooresville's come up recently, but I think there's a lot of Mooresvilles. We always want more. So that's just
There's more
absolutely,
bills than you know.
yeah, that's just absolutely hilarious. DEI. That's wild. Oh man. Which is hilarious too, because he instantly was just like, oh, Lamar, I'm so sorry. Just like no legal real battle. He just like kind of like bowed down to Lamar Jackson and said, oh, I'll change it. I'll change it. So that's, kind of going with that whole idea. And, that's funny. I wasn't expecting kind of an intro to our talk to come through NASCAR. I really wasn't. But this kind of does serve as like something I wanted to, kind of kick off this particular topic involving relationships. Sorry, this might seem abrupt to what we were just talking about. And obviously, if you guys have any other tips or feedback on NASCAR and their ongoing things, hit us up. But I think we're going to transition into a different kind of subject for the remainder of the episode, or until Rich gets on and whatever. But I wanted to kind of blend in where race fits in and culture and things of that nature, and relationships with our fellow man, rather than just personal relationships. Obviously those relationships can be personal too, but we've kind of focused on the personal side of things already. Not to say that we sunk the Titanic on it yet, but we barely scratched the surface of that iceberg. But we'll be back there for sure. But I did want to talk about race relationships because I'm a product of the 90s, born in 1990 exactly, and I got to come up and see a whole different world, and especially when it comes to race relations. I grew up in Portland, Oregon, so it never was like this. I shouldn't say it never was, but it really wasn't any hub of social movement either way when I was coming up. Maybe other than like the hippie movement kind of hit here in Seattle a little bit more than other places. The Pacific Northwest kind of got hit, more than other places potentially. But other than that, I grew up. I grew up in North Portland, which is like one of the rougher. Used to be one of the rougher. I'll say this too: gentrification is a real thing, but it used to be one of the rougher areas. And this isn't to say that a lot of Black people live there. That's just the reality of what it was. It was a very, it was, I wouldn't say any ratio. It was probably somewhere near 50-50 Blacks and white people. But uh, it was just everyday life to me. And obviously, I could give the whole, I had Black friends, just like everybody likes to do. This isn't, I have no, it's not like I don't have skin in the game. I just don't have any, I don't get caught up in all of that stuff. To me, it's something I would literally just walk away laughing. If I haven't, I probably witnessed it a few times in my life where people were actually physically heated about arguments to do with race and things like that. To me, I would look at them like, are you serious? Like, shut the hell up and just do anything else and the world will be a better place. Like, I can't understand why it's so easy for people to get caught up on stuff like this. I don't care ancestry wise. I don't care about any of that stuff. And then I also don't care if you think that me not caring is a product of privilege. I don't care about that either. I will never care about that. You can't convince me of that. I didn't have the privilege. I've never used the privilege. That whole argument is ridiculous. And I'm not even talking about Black people. I've never been accused of this by Black people. It's always white. The only times I've ever heard of this is white apologists talking about, white privilege and things like that. So anyway, without going on, my whole life story, in the opening segment, I just, I'll open it by saying this. This is candid. This is really how it is. I used to say the N word all the time. It was this word is a word. That is what it is. I bet if you find a chart, I bet you could find a chart of like when it was phased out of the vernacular of average white people, and like how much worse the country's gotten. I bet you that chart exists somewhere, because that's how I'm not saying it's the reason. I'm saying it's the primary cause for it is the reason. But that's one of the things that I noticed, that it's like a signifier. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like a signifier for it. Something on the ground level you could notice, whereas the true cause is obviously a lot more, there's a bigger conspiracy, behind it, obviously splitting us up and keeping, people lines divided. People always say drawing a line in the sand. I never really understood that. These lines are in the concrete. These things are going to be pretty hard to break. But yeah, it's I never had an issue. My whole life, when I've said the N word, I have never once maliciously said that word. To me, it was just a fun word to say. Not only that, I said it around anybody. It's not like, oh, Black people are around. I didn't say, no, I said it right to them. I've never gotten a bad reaction from a black person saying that. I've never in my life. Not to say I haven't said it in a long time, but I used to, and it's just it's one of these things that I think it opens up a broader sentiment. Right now, we're going to be talking about relationships. This is just one part of it, but this could be expanded upon to, you know, how much we're being suppressed. The human experience is just being suppressed. Not saying that saying the N-word is a a great human experience. I'm saying like speech, modifying our speech and drawing lines places that did we draw the line or did propaganda draw the line for us? And I obviously know that answer, but it's just one of those things that, to imagine that a word could be so triggering to people that it literally, divides, causes a large rift that was, from my experience, healed. I don't even want to say partially healed. I know that I lived in Portland, like I mentioned. It's one part of the country. Sure, it's a microcosm of a potential greater thing. I know Chicago existed and maybe it was rougher there and parts of New York and things like that. I don't care. Where I lived, it was harmony. And I lived in like the lower class area, like the lower class area of Portland. And it was harmony. And I don't know if it'll ever get back to there, but it's definitely sad to say the least. And but I think part of it has to do with this growing movement of anti-white guilt. You're going to see this guys, you're going to see this all over the place. You already are, I'm sure. But this whole that Shiloh Hendricks thing, that they're using that as like a large scale, like we're done type of thing. Of course, you just happened to that just happened to happen the same week as a black kid stabs a white kid at a track meet. It's just like, these things are obviously contrived. I'm not saying no one died. I have no idea. The point is the larger narrative is being contrived to draw lines between us that we need to put our pens away. We need to stop having such reactions to things that A, are out of our control, B, are ridiculous. They're childish too. The idea that, anyone would get triggered by a word and have it affect them for more than 5 seconds. I'll give you 5 seconds. But other than that, move on.
Yeah, and it's interesting what you brought up. I mean, just talking about the way like language and stuff has changed and the N word and stuff, especially, growing up in the 90s and, early 2000s, from the mid 90s and stuff, early 2000s, from my time, and, hearing that word and how, reality, how life used to be and reality was to what it is now. And, um, yeah, and it's interesting seeing things too. I mean, you obviously, grew up in Portland, me growing up in Swamico, and yeah, I mean, I was always around. I wouldn't say like everyone I was around was kind of like racist, but I did have a lot of people around that were racist. But for me personally, I this has just always been me, but I've always gotten along better with like black people and like Asian people and other people that aren't white. I mean, I do get along well with some white people, but it's always been like I've had more of like a connection. Even like when I'm at the gym and stuff. I mean, mainly the people I talk to, and people, if I socialize or someone that's going to be drawn to me, it's most likely going to be an Asian person, a black person. It's always been the way it's been. Um, and even like women wise, women have always been kind of more drawn. I've been with all races, but even like I just find like Asian women to be kind of the best. I've gotten along pretty well with some black women too, and just like I just have different vibes from people, but I always found different races easier to deal with and talk to, and it's just kind of always generally the people I'm around. I mean, not all the time, but yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, I was young. I mean, I was uh when I was, like 4. I mean, I was swearing and cussing like a motherfucker. Everywhere out of my mouth was fuck and cunt and suck my dick and fuck you. And I was just swearing like a motherfucker. It wasn't much to do out there in Swamico, but fucking throw a fit back in the day. But yeah, I mean, I would say the N word too, but I mean, not like in a racist way, but just, I mean, I was around, my, uh, not so much like my mom, but like my dad and like other people I was around. Uh, some people were extremely racist. My dad, I talk a lot to. I don't talk about my family much, but I do mention a lot that I don't talk to them because we don't get along. We're not alike and stuff. Like, uh, it was pretty extreme to some degrees. For those, this is kind of a fucked up story too. But even my dad had literally a KKK hat and shit. Like, uh, it was pretty bad. He's extremely racist and stuff too. I mean, hates Asians, blacks, everybody. It's China's fault. Black people. I mean, he's basically, if I could describe him, it'd be Donald Trump. I mean, he Trump is his god. He's a savior. That's basically what he is. It's not exactly, but a lot to a degree. But like,
All
it's
it
kind of
takes
like
is
that.
one crappy group to ruin pointed hats for all of us.
Yeah.
Imagine that group never existed, and that's just a fashion statement nowadays. We got Kanye doing it, so
Yeah, it's like Casey Kane, the KKK. They couldn't have picked a better name for him, but yeah, the race thing is something that's been real interesting in my lifetime and how it's gone with relationships and stuff. And yeah, it's a topic where it branches off in a lot of ways. And yeah, for those that are younger than us, you won't know what we're talking about. But yeah, the 90s, the early 2000s was just a hell of a time to be alive. The way the world was, the way things were. 9/11 really brought the race back in a
true.
lot of
Yeah.
ways, and and obviously that's it's is it black people, is it Asian people? No, it's tall heads now. Now it's tall heads, and it's these people. It's always someone to blame, and I really felt like that was the point too, where that seemed to be kind of where the N word started to kind of disappear too. It started to kind of go away after that, and things started to change, and that was such a huge event, and it shifted the way things were with relationships just in general. I mean, just the way people were. I mean, I'd say like the first 7 years of my life, I was pretty happy. I was a happy child in 2002, and after like 2002, yeah, definitely just I just seen the world going to fuck. That the depression started setting in, the anxiety, the world, just like just my withdrawal from the world, just watching things fall away, go away, the great falling away. I could see it, and that was one of the biggest things was the racism, really exploding back through, and um just I mean, I've seen it just in my own family. I mean, in other places and other people too. I mean, just by like 2005, I mean, it was everything was just so bad, or everything was so bad, just the way people were, the way things were. I mean, it was. I know that was a real tough time for me in my life and how things were even with my family and stuff. And just there was so much division that had happened by that point, and the way things were going, and the changes in the world and society, and just the thing was, I mean, uh like I said, I mean, race was always a thing. I mean, where I'm from, I mean, it's mainly like white people. There are some blacks, there are some Asians, but it's pretty rare. Like out here in Washington, there's mainly white people, but there's a good mix. I mean, there's pretty much a little bit of everything. Where I'm from, it's mainly white. It's mainly the same type of person basically out there. You don't get a lot of variety here. You get a lot more variety. Um, I've lived out in Wyoming too and other places, and it's a little bit more variety out there, but not much. I mean, it's just I've been around all different kinds of people and stuff, but yeah, and I'm one of those people I can really get along with anybody. And like I said, it's amazing how much more, likely it is that, me and like an Asian person or a black person or an Asian woman or a black woman, like I'm going to be, just like we'll have more of a connection or more of an attraction like that. And it's just easier for us to get along and just kind of mend and stuff. And yeah, I'm just having to deal with, you know, uh, all these just racist retards and losers in my life, people like that, and just all these idiots and stuff. That's the way people act, the way people are, and stuff, and just how people are. And this is a huge part of relationships because, like I said, for those that like King Richard, he joins and stuff. Him being born in 2002, he missed out because he doesn't remember what life was like when the world was a lot more united. There wasn't all this division and stuff, and people weren't all at each other. Um, and then how this, just this growing divide, this division, and really, like I said, it really from like 9/11, 2001, 2002, but really like 2003, 2004, 2005 was awful. Awful year, and I could just see it, and it's the way it affected people in the division and stuff. And it was something where um it's gotten, that was 20 years ago already, but it's gotten to such a point where, um, and, even COVID, was another 9/11 because, now it's the Asians, it's China, it's Chinese, and we're going to blame it on them. It's their fault. So, yeah, this is something that, has just dragged on. I mean, now you have this constant, blame this person, blame this race, someone else's fault, and it's progressed, and it's something that it's become overly ridiculous. I mean, and now people, like I always bring up the China thing. Everybody, oh, made in China, China sucks, and China this, China that, and people that don't have an idea, don't know nothing about nothing. I mean, just total, like you said, childish mentality, retard mentality, and yeah, it's brought immaturity. It's just brought this idiotic way. And I mean, it's not even just, it's not even just a race thing. I mean, it's just everybody is at everybody. I mean, it's not just race. I mean, it's just everyone's pitted against everybody, and started at 9/11, and 2020 COVID just made it a million times worse. I mean, the last 5 years, and it goes for everybody. I mean, everybody right now is um dealing with the effects of COVID still. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. I mean, everyone's got some, mental, emotional, if not physical problems from the last 5 years. And, uh, yeah, nothing, yeah, everything's just, gone to fuck, and everything's just been falling away. It's getting worse. And, it's including the racism and including, all this division. And it's come from every angle. I mean, you got everybody pitted against everybody. And this is a plot and a plan that's been, something that, like I said, when I was a kid, really didn't exist, and now it's just absolutely off the charts. And it's definitely a major part of the agenda. Definitely people who aren't old enough to know what the world was like. I mean, it was a much better life and way back in the day compared to what it is now. And yeah, it's crazy. Just like I said, I mean, now it's like mainly the people I talk to. Most of them, they're Asian, they're black. I mean, there are some white people, but it's just like I never had a problem with anybody. I don't have a problem with anybody. If you're cool with me, I'm cool with you. And yeah, I mean, it's just it's sad where things have gotten. I mean, you never would have thought that it was just going to fall away like this, and people would allow this to happen. But unfortunately, people have really let the screws fall out, and there's a lot more than just one screw.
Screwed up to say the least.
Yeah.
You made a great point that made me think about this a little bit further. Yeah, the 9/11 thing, because my anecdotal experiences, and I think a lot of people can, try to, close your eyes and remember. I mean, you can never forget, right? So you're gonna
Right.
have to, you remember already, but try to remember the details of that day. For me, I was in sixth grade, and I'll never forget when they wheeled in the wheeled in the TV. People are like, huh? what do you live in? What do you live in 1950? What he was it? Electron tube TV? What's going on here? But yes, no, they wheeled in the TV to show all of us kids the terrible events. And I remember being the only one not mesmerized by what was on the screen. So that was already crazy. I felt like I was living in a Twilight Zone episode because I looked around and everybody is just face forward staring like robots. I'm not joking. It was like spooky, dude. I was looking at, like when your head's up and you're supposed to be praying at church and you look around and everybody's praying, you're like, dang, I could, you feel like out of it. Was crazy. Anyway, but never mind that necessarily. But take yourself back to that time and remember, like you mentioned, the rampant, unhinged amount of, quote unquote racism that stemmed from that. Everybody had an opinion on Muslims after that, and who were perceived to be Muslims. Really, anybody that could potentially match a description of that kind of caught that flack. Obviously, it wasn't towards Black people. In fact, if you go and watch archived videos too, Black people were pretty bad about it too. I'm not, this isn't the comparison game I'm trying to play. It's just, point being is I want, I saw, I want to mention one thing and then get to the point I was going to make. But, in schools, I just want to point this out. Just imagine, this is how they get these systems to roll out. What Arab Muslim kid coming up in that time, what are they like today? Schools are brutal. When I made fun of people, I didn't know the context of what I was saying. I remember I called a kid a dildo once before I ever even knew what it was. I just heard the word and I knew that it was like funny in a certain sense. People thought it was funny and I had no idea what it meant. I got in trouble for it and I couldn't explain that I didn't know what it meant. They wouldn't believe me. I'm just like, I'm sorry. I know, I get it, but I have no idea what it means. And they just didn't believe me. But the same thing applies. Just like schools are brutal. Obviously, I was in sixth grade. This is like a Call of Duty lobby on steroids. Is these schools? People have no idea. People have no idea how like brutal it is to like soft, sensitive hearts don't fare well in the hustle and bustle of these environments where you get a large competitive natured animals caged up together. That's, you find your niches. Everybody finds their niche, whatever it is. Niche. I remember this next video. I got to bring it back to niche. People find their niches, but for the most part, what is it like being a Muslim kid growing up, coming up during that time in school? You are not going to have a good sentiment of America after that. It's impossible. So that almost, that just, what is it? Self-fulfills the prophecy right there. And people don't even realize, they think the event is adults being adults doing things to adults. No, these start way earlier. And I think the goal was to get, a lot of animosity brewed up with kids that honestly don't care about it. They didn't care. But I heard them, say towel head, imagine how much towel head you heard after that. Whoever said that after that, before that? Nobody. Right. I never heard any specific Muslim remark. Like I didn't have any in the back of my head. I've obviously had some towards Black people like watermelon and things like that. Just like, just honestly, feel good jokes. Honestly, they're just feel good. Chicken and watermelon. Who's gonna get? Oh, who cares? There's a million things you can honky, whatever, cracker, all that stuff. It's just feel good stuff in that arena where it's really not like emotionally driven. But to the kids that are coming up in that after 9/11, and then on top of that, although Black people partook in it, because I'm not joking. Anecdotally, I honestly remember Black people being pretty militant about Muslims after that, like almost more than white people from where the neighborhood I lived in. Like I said, I went to school it was right next to a housing development that was literally called the Ghetto. They had a nice sign and everything. No grass, dirt yards. It was crazy. It's crazy. I've meant to go look it up and whatever happened to that place, or if it still exists. I doubt it does, because North Portland's become very heavily gentrified recently. But anyway, um, they were just as caught up in it, is my point. I'm not sitting there saying anyone was worse. It's not really about that. But the fact is, their leaders, they're shitty leaders, just like white people have shitty leaders. Everybody has shitty leaders. No one really appoints them. They appoint themselves, and then through propaganda, they become, what they say they are. But they got to see white people become militant again. You know what I mean? And in seeing that brought up that they were able to prey on the instinctual tribalism. Not saying black people are tribal as in like, I'm saying white people are just as tribal. It's just a word. I'm just saying, like, they were able to hone in on that and say, look at white people go again. Here they go. Here they go. It's going to be you next. And look at where we are. And you made a great point about, I want to make one more quick point, and then I'll see what you have to say about that, because I really do think that was maybe a focal point of that, is just to get white people, not just white people, everybody up in arms about that, about Muslims. But then you can not only do you have whites and blacks against Muslims, but now you have a sub issue where you have blacks seeing whites become militant again and saying, oh, they need to be harnessed. They need to be calmed down, because we know what happens when they get militant, especially. And now look at it. Now it's rose to the top, and black people and Muslims, they're one and the same. They consider themselves one and the same. How many Indian people think they're black? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like American black. So it's very interesting. And then you brought up COVID. And yes, I just wanted to mention why, think about all the major world-changing events. And yes, there were some before 9/11, although it's hard to even go back that far. But, think about Vietnam. Obviously, these are inter-country conflicts, so you're going to have country conflicts. But, okay, so Vietnam, then you have, never mind just Vietnam, or never mind even just wars. Think about like the Spanish flu, which remember how they brought up the Spanish flu during COVID? Because it was like, remember back in the day when Spanish flu was a big deal, and how dirty white people were, and how easily they allowed the virus to spread, and how it almost took out an entire population. You know what I mean? That weird fear mongering. They love to pit a race on a major event. There's always a race paired with it.
Yeah, and it's every time there is an event, it's like I said, it's someone else's fault. I mean, that's what it's been my whole life. I mean, you had obviously, 9/11 and COVID being the two big ones of my life, and yeah, I mean, you had you blame the Middle East, and then of course, blame blame the Asians, blame the Chinese, and you have people say, oh, China sucks, China this, China that, China can't do anything, China can't build anything, and they're going to make all these racist dumb remarks, and they're not going to look into anything. I mean, still most people don't even know about the song, by Dr. Creep there in 2013, 7 years before the scamdemic pandemic happened, where it was saying coronavirus 2020 body stacking. I mean, this is a song, and and if you show it to someone, it's undeniable. And listen to the song. I mean, go ahead. I mean, it's like 3-4 minutes. Tells you everything you got to know. I mean, he'll tell you this wasn't China. It's not the Asians. It's not them. We know who's doing it. But of course, they're going to cover it up and say, oh, well, no, that was, um, And that was just a coincidence, all a big coincidence now. And there's been a lot of little ones that they like to throw in there too. I mean, we've talked about a lot of them on the channel already. I mean, look at Michael Vick. Look at that. In 2007, that was right for my 12th birthday there in April. With the dog fighting, stuff like that. I mean, or I remember, just living in Wisconsin, like I said, there's a lot of racist people there in Wisconsin, just being the state that it was and the area that it was, and people that I knew. Not everyone was racist, but I knew a lot of people that were. And, even like, and the Vikings come to town, everybody would be saying stuff about Michael Vick or Randy Moss or something, all black people, this, that, or whatever. It's just, you see how they did it in sports. They did it a lot of different ways to, get people, pitted against each other with things. And there's a lot of other things that they've done to change things up as well. And it's, of course, I brought it up too in the last episode too. It plays in a lot of different ways, and you do have a lot of people right now. There's more people right now leaving America than ever before. I mean, there's a mass exodus right now of people. I mean, there are still people coming to America, of course, but you got more people leaving now than ever. There's a mass exodus. Especially now, I do believe that there's going to be a explosion of mass exodus, because you do have people that see the Real ID Act as a way of trapping you in. I mean, otherwise you're going to have to go down to Mexico and get on a plane from Mexico and go, and travel that way, because you won't be able to, or you have to get on a ship or something else. You have to figure out a different way. You won't be able to fly or anything. You won't be able to do whatever, to get to these other countries. Um, which is a big thing with your relationship stuff right now. I mean, you got how many people going, like I said, over to Asia and stuff, and um, men trying to, find, Asian women and stuff like that, girls in the Philippines, whatever. You have that angle as well, and so you have this inversion, basically. I mean, you have America and Americans against each other, and that's spreading, and that's why you have like the passport bros and people uh either don't have the new ID, or that are getting it, or to leave, or don't want to get it, so they're getting out of here. It's mixing up everything right now. You got people of all combinations, and people realize that trying to get out of here is, people getting trapped, getting stuck in here, and you got people trying to get out and go to other places where we're taught and told, especially in my time in school, oh, we're the best, we're number one, we're the greatest, we're unstoppable, we're perfect. You could live somewhere else, could be so much worse. And um obviously people know now that that is 100% bullshit. It's lies, it's fraud, especially with the internet and the way the world is now, and people, and just the way things have just become so obviously uh that a lot of people have caught on. It's, you can't hide that no more. Just, that America's about as the worst place you want to be, if not one of the worst places. So you got some people, trying to get out of here, and that's it's creating, people are getting mad, blaming other people too. So you have this major mix of people. You have a lot of interchangeable pieces and parts to this, of what they've created and what they've done. um and as well, um another part of this that draws it all together too. I mean, you have these other people from these other countries. They're coming here and they're taking our jobs, and they're getting our jobs, and they're the ones that are succeeding at the top. These Indian people, these Asian people, these other black people, they're coming here, and because they got better, schools, where in their countries they got better, colleges, they got better way of life. They're coming up better, they're smarter, and they're coming here, and they're taking our jobs, they're making all the money, they're at the top of everything, and there's nowhere for us people here in our own country to go. So then that, also creates this anger and hatred and animosity, and all blame them, oh, it's their fault, and they're doing this, they're doing that. So there's a lot of smoke and mirrors and moving parts to this, and this is something that's not going away anytime soon. It's about to get a lot worse, and right now we are catching the early stages of this. We're really documenting it in real time with all these things, and this plays in exactly with the the real ID. And this is a big thing. Like, people got to look at this, why in 2027, they're going to make it, mandatory just 2 years from now in May. And, who knows how long. I mean, like I said, 5 years from now, 80% of the jobs are going to be gone. That's just a fact. I mean, the way the world's going to be 5 years from now, it's going to be someone else's fault. They're going to have someone else to blame when the event goes down. It always is someone else's fault. And they already know who they're going to blame, who it's going to be. And, yeah, I mean, this is it's become an epidemic. I mean, this is what it is. I mean, it's been this way almost my whole life now, where they've just moved things around, shift things around, and do what they've been doing. And yeah, and like I said, this ain't changing or going away anytime soon. I mean, this is something that's just continuously ramping up, and it's only going to get worse. It's not just, it's, you got the divide here in the country against our own people, but it's also against everyone else as well. And it's just it's amazing how they've been able to do this.
Absolutely. And I think part of what I brought this little thing up because, this has kind of been at the core ever since that, almost ever since that whole rally. Where was it, in Virginia or wherever it was? Do you remember where, tiki torches became the symbol of white supremacy for a while? But
Oh yeah.
then you had the Proud Boys movement and all these things. But um this whole great replacement theory, you kind of alluded to it with, the jobs, especially the tech industry jobs. But also, I've mentioned this a couple of other times, as far as even just like the splitting of family. I think I talked about this 2 weeks ago, with where family, is being so split that don't be surprised to see, a militant child against their rest of their family, because they've clung to an ideology that doesn't vibe with the rest of their families. And they'll be just as quick to pull a trigger, metaphorically or realistically, against their own family. Well, that's your own family. Think about how the psychology behind that. Now, how much psychology does it take? I think it takes a lot less psychology to tell a Haitian or this is no knock on any of these people's countries, and I'll explain why exactly my thinking behind it. But just, an Indian comes over here and becomes a member of a police force, or maybe the head of our FBI. Anyway, they become a member of the police force. Are they going to have a sentimental or any kind of like? First of all, police don't use reason in the normal frame of context. Remember, they are always from a defensive, like an aggressive defensive stance. Like, as in, when I say aggressive defensive, that means like they want to be the first to fire if anything seems off. Not the first to de-escalate, the first to fire, so that because that's how they're trained to do it. That's how they're supposed to do it, according to them. And anyway, so what you haven't, what are the odds that, say a military, like, what do they call those? Like martial law hits.
Yep.
If you have a 30% non-American, non-born in America police force, or maybe even higher, what are your chances there as a populace? As, let's just say, a white populace, that there's no chance of appealing to your fellow man. They don't have that sentiment towards you. And I'm not saying that they're evil or they're wrong or anything like that. It's just human nature. It's much easier to program that human nature that you don't even need to program it. It's already not there. Whereas you have a 90% white police force, there's a potential, they're not going to want to do that to their family. They're not going to want to do that in their own neighborhood. If they get orders to do something crazy, you know what I mean? Like you see it in the movies. And so there's that aspect of it too, where, and this is all also to say that you won't go and find a 30% white population in the Indian police force either. and you ask them why, and it'll be very reasonable. It'll be something along the lines of what I'm talking about right now. It would be off-putting. It wouldn't be, you know, and this isn't to say that all cops should be white or just white and black, because those are the main American colors, if you will. No, it's just, first of all, I'll even go further than that and say I don't agree with like thinking about these things in this way either. People should let go of their ideologies. The only ideology you should have is that of truth. And the truth comes from morals that are instilled in you by some sort of DNA instinct God. Okay. These things are not something you can argue with me about. Everybody knows these things. That's why when you come across like liars, you know what I mean? They know it's wrong every single time they do it. You don't have to tell them that lying is wrong. You know what I mean? No one should have to be told that. Oh, you mean you didn't want me to sit there and say something that's not truthful to your face? Oh, okay. I get it now. No, everybody knows that's wrong from the very first time they ever do it. That's like built in. So obviously that's one aspect, but there's, stick to those aspects. And then of course, when it comes to truth, it's really, it can be anecdotal. Like not everybody's gonna, roam the world. Most people live and die in a, square mileage of where they were born, for the most part, around the world. So really, it can be anecdotal, and and by that I mean, like I was saying earlier, when I grew up in Portland, I didn't play into any racist tropes, any types of things. I didn't play into those things. They slide right off me. And if more people just let everything slide right off them, they wouldn't be affected by the propaganda that trickles down telling you to act a certain way, because you'd be like, hell no, I'm going to act the way that we act. We're going to act this way, and that, come and try to change us, not just being changed arbitrarily by, and even what's even more upsetting about how everybody changed back in the late 90s and when the 2000s kicked off is, it's my generation's version of like World War I. It's just like those people signed up and were allowed themselves to be conscripted for a war that was unjust and didn't need to be fought. And then those women, said, oh, I'm probably not ever going to see my man again, so I'm just going to go do what the government tells me to do. And we both look at where we are now, where, this whole world stems from that huge shift in socioeconomics and relationships, that, all those things. And then in my version, in my generation's version is obviously 9/11 was the main kicker, but really what it came down to was a large like restructuring of social hierarchy, and the amount of setups that came with it that should have never succeeded, but they were just bought hook, line, and sinker. And like I've mentioned this to you before, I have people in my family that this affected, and I'm gonna call them out. I sit here and say I said that word. No, it wasn't just me. You think I was the only one like at the dinner table saying the word? No, we all did. All of us did. Like nothing, like butter. Like we're just talking to each other. There was no. It's just. And so the people I did that, it's like, yeah, you can change and everything like that, but change for the better. I'm not saying you should still say the word either. I don't say the word either. But it's to have the guilt of it and to have like this idea of the word and let that affect you and let it kind of essentially turn you into a crab in a bucket and like pull down everyone else around you to the same misery. That's what I saw take place, late 90s through 9/11. And then, yeah, you made a great point about the whole, change in cultural outlooks, obviously with the Middle East, but I kind of added to that with the whole idea of the black leadership being able to kind of point to white people and say, "Oh, look, they're militant." You know, they're not allowed to do that because look what happens when they do. And we'll get lumped into Germany's too. It's just like those were white people. It's it's never going to be a fair argument because it's not an argument that should ever need to be had at the level where people are at. Like nobody's life should be affected by Napoleon Bonaparte's history. How are we simultaneously in the most technologically advanced age we've ever been in and also in the most archaic age we've ever been in at the same time? It's maddening.
Yeah, it absolutely is maddening, and it's like I said, when I was a kid, I mean, that's literally how I talked. I'd be 4 years old. I'd be just walking around the house, running around, riding my bike. Fuck this, fuck you, cunt, bitch, dick. Suck my dick, whatever. I didn't give a fuck. That's the way it was. I mean, it was just a different time, and I said things too. I mean, when I was a kid, I thought my crotch was my armpit, so I'd be talking about my crotch. I thought it was my armpit. Be like, no, that's down there. I'm like, oh, whatever. But that's just the way it was. I mean, people just didn't give a fuck. I mean, it was a cool time. I mean, things had harmony. I mean, I would say shit. I didn't know what I was saying, what I was doing really, but I would, and it's just like it was. There just wasn't all this pitted up animosity in the world, and this has all just gotten way out of hand. And yeah, and like I said, I mean, now COVID in 2020, and it's the big thing too with all of this is relationships too, and it's like I said, it's like mental illness too. It's everyone's got anxiety, depression, and mental problems, and everyone's struggling mentally, emotionally, physically from COVID in 2020. It's affected everybody. It's fucked up everyone's head. Everyone's fucked up. Everyone's mentally ill out here, and they have issues, and it's all stemmed from that event and what they did and how they pulled it off. And it's brought a lot of issues into the world. And um and it's still, you still have people blaming China, and you got now, like I said, you have this. uh I mean, it was bad before 2020, but ever since 2020, it's just everything's just gotten so much worse on every level. Everything's just gotten uh way out of hand. And it's like I said, I mean, another 5 years from now, I mean, 80% of the jobs are going to be gone. I mean, if you don't, if you're not doing whatever, 5 years from now, you're not even going to be able to participate in society. I mean, that's just where all this is stemmed from. That's where it's all going. I mean, that's why, the people on the Real ID, the AI, they're going to have people like us, oh, we're the terrorists, we're terrorists, and we can't, you're a terrorist because you watch Zachary K. Hubbard. You're a terrorist because you watch UTTV and listen to Logan Austin. You're a terrorist because you watch RPM Trey Vietnam. And, we're all going to be listed as terrorists. We're all going to be on that list, and we won't be able to do this, won't be able to do that. And that's what people aren't talking about is some people are just so worried about focusing on, getting ahead in financial, other things like that. They're not even looking at the war, the divide that's right in your face of, it's not that, oh, you can't be white, you can't be black, can't be this, can't be that. No, this is what you're going to have to be and who you're going to have to be. And if you're anything else, you won't be able to continue on. I mean, that's what it's all about. And this is why, the relationships and the race this is all distraction. This is all smoke and mirrors. And that's why it's so frustrating that, like you said, in the age of information today, why it has to be this way, why it's got to be so maddening, and why people can't just blame the people that need to be blamed and go after what we have the problems. It's just ridiculous, and how people can't, you know, why it has to be such a major issue when it should be easily the people that we're blaming. Why we're not going after the people at the top. We're not going after the elite, the Jesuits, like I've been saying in the last couple episodes with, you know, the races and the relationships and stuff like that. All these people that they don't want to blame the top. They don't want to, point the finger at those people and people up there. They want to keep the blame and people down here. And yeah, it's just it's really frustrating, annoying how we just can't come together and blame the right person and go against the people. It's just really frustrating that it's gotten to this point. I mean, it's gotten way out of hand.
Certainly, and just want to mention, you said we're all going to be on lists for that. Yeah, that's going to be a list of some pretty sick people, dude. I want a copy of that list so I can, that'd be, where I look for friends off that list. Oh shit, you watch UTTV? Oh shit, you watch Zach?
Oh, yeah.
Oh damn. Yeah, we're terrorists. We're terrorists. All right, we're about to terrorize it up tonight. Let's get it. I mean, I almost think we need to embrace these monikers they give us. Honestly, it's the more we shy away from it, that's like the more control they get. Similar to the single word monikers we've been talking about. Just think about that. That we give up the word and now it's become such a crutch to people. It's an actual crutch. It's like people it breaks people down. It's wild. I do have to say, unfortunately, it looks like another reschedule from Big Rich. He's not able to make it tonight, which will more than likely shorten our stream up. We're already approaching the 2-hour mark here. But I will, for anyone still watching, obviously it would be fantastic to get Rich on here and hear his takes on whatever we're talking about or things he'd like to present. He's a great presenter and smart young guy. And get to, see what his life experience is like. I also, just the more I think about it, I think it'd be cool to kind of since we're all West Coasters, somehow get a network going. But anyway, that can be you. I'm not saying you can be rich. No one can be rich. He's one of a kind. But that slot, it's feel free to hit us up. Like, come and join the conversation. A lot of times we just have conversations, but it can be about anything. You can point us towards things that we couldn't possibly know about because no one knows everything. The iceberg has not even began to melt. The global warming hasn't even affected it. It's the iceberg's so big, it's the whole world's colder because of it. We need to start chipping away at this thing, and we can only talk about so much each time, and people need to join the party. Obviously we appreciate comments and everything like that. Obviously it's great. I love interacting with you guys in the comments too. Respond to every single comment, all that kind of stuff. But as well, we'd love to have you guys on, and you don't have to show your face. I don't care about any of that stuff. I have my personal takes on it, but it doesn't matter to me. It's not going to affect what we talk about or anything like that. So I mean, not to come on and agree with us either. So it's come on and let's get more people involved and let that be you. I know it can be a difficult or interesting, and everybody's busy in certain aspects of their lives and things like that. But still, it'd be nice to have, more often have a new voice on here. But that being said, I think I'll concede the floor to you. You seem to be a much better closer than I am as far as my memory of us getting into these discussions. You tend to have some poignant final thoughts that kind of hit home. I just want to get your wrap up take on today's episode, which, by the way, this is a gift that keeps on giving. This race stuff isn't going anywhere, and I got a lot more to talk about to the more specifics. But as far as relationships go, let's put a cap on this part.
Yeah, it's been a good episode 35. Yeah, it sucks Rich didn't join us again, but I mean that's fine. I mean, yeah, I mean anyone that wants to join, anyone like I said has anything to add or talk about, let us know and message us and talk to us and stuff. I mean, um, yeah, it's just yeah, I mean, obviously we want to get more people involved and more people on and people to talk to and stuff and hear your take, and or if you have, maybe you have an opposing take, or maybe you like something we said, didn't like what we said, or you got something to add, or maybe you want to go against the grain or something, whatever it is. But yeah, I'd say, for a closing topic, I guess the next couple streams, we'll just keep talking about different sides, relationships. Let's make this a relationship month, I guess. And yeah, I mean, I guess to end, I mean, yeah, relationships. It's a very dynamic topic that everybody that thinks that relationships in the world is not a certain aspect of something else. Like people think that, oh, um, relationships are something where it's just going to keep going to a better place, or things are going to improve, or things are going to pick up, or things are going to get better. Obviously people don't see the agenda, and this is what I keep talking about every episode. Is this all boils down to a major agenda, and it's an agenda that you can't stop it. You can't stop it going this way. You can't stop it going that way. You have to blame the people. You can't blame the men. You can't blame the women. You can't blame black people, Asian, blame the right people, and you have to you got to call the people out at the top that are controlling all this and doing all this, and until that comes, until you do that, um yeah, ain't nothing gonna change, ain't nothing gonna happen. I mean, you gotta blame the people at the top. You gotta point the finger at the right people, and if you don't do that, ain't nothing gonna change. And it goes for everything, and because it's only a matter of time for the next event. And 5 years from now, I just keep thinking, where are we? 2030, 2030, the next big event, the next whatever, if it goes down sooner or later. I mean, and we're just this divide just gonna keep going. I mean, I see it every day, and that's the thing. It is annoying. It's frustrating. It's on every level. I mean, the divide in humanity is absolutely off the charts. I mean, everything is just so bad. I mean, I don't know how the world doesn't bother people, and how people can't see what it really is. I mean, it's annoying. It's frustrating that we just can't work together, come together, and just be a team and be cooperative and just pull through. I mean, and yeah, it's really sad times. It's very sad. It's depressing. It definitely bothers me as a person, because I'm just like, I don't understand why it's so hard to do simple things. I mean, it used to be so easy. Everyone was so, it seemed in unison, seemed there was harmony. Now you just got this awful divide, and it's just growing by the day. And yeah, I guess last point I'll make is yeah, I mean, and I think I think we do a good job of showing that obviously we come together, work together. We've hung out, we do things, and um there just needs to be more of that, especially in this community. I mean, I feel like there's just too much falling away right now. I feel like everyone's falling off, falling away. And I get it. I mean, the world is tearing us down. I mean, I'm going through it right now too. I mean, I got issues, way up there, and it's happening, and I got all these problems and stuff. And yeah, it's just it's getting worse, and it just, something has to give, and it's only a matter of time for something does give. And when it does, I mean, hopefully humanity's gonna fire back at the right people at the right time, and hopefully we're gonna do the right thing. Otherwise, we're all gonna be screwed. It's like I always say, it's revolution or bust. And unless you bust the right people, ain't nothing gonna change. Things just gonna keep getting worse. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say.
That's what I'm talking about, dude.
Yep.
I knew that was a good idea to let you close this bad boy. That was fire. Well, uh, that was a great cap on another great episode, and had a lot of fun talking about this with you. Hopefully can expand upon this next week with a new voice on the topic with Rich, and we'll see how that works. But yeah, like we've said multiple times, just so we're on the tip of your brain, guys, get involved with us. We'd love to host new ideas, new, even if it's if you don't want to be. Oh yeah. So even if you don't want to, get involved, as far as like streaming with us, there's other ways, suggestions and criticisms, whatever you have. Let us know where we can do better, or what you guys want to see, or want to talk about, or want to hear about, or or come on and present. And we just need to, like Austin said, do a better job coming together. And to me, that's more important than even, we might not ever have to point our arrows at the sky, if you will, and fire at the people at the top, if we can handle if we can build our way up there ourselves. This isn't like some anyway. But yeah, without going on too much, thank you guys for joining us for 35, and I'd feel remiss to end our episode without the signature piece from Austin, so we will wait. I know people are relying on it, and people just want it to feel right.
Yo.
All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a great week. See you next week.
Peace.
There it is.